Hello everyone, Sheek here with another Transformers review, and today I'll be reviewing the X-Transbots Master K series, or Master X I should say, series 85MX Theoretician Savant, or aka Skids. As far as I know, that's who he's supposed to be, Skids. And let's go ahead and take a look at his box. It's kind of sort of done masterpiece style, not quite, and then it says, I am the place in which something has occurred. I'm not exactly sure where they get that quote or why they use that quote specifically. And then we have a kind of a styled character card done in G1 style and all that. I don't know if it's the same stats as Skids. And then on the other side we have the same picture again, same quote, X-Transbot, yeah. Looks like there's another it's pretty much the same mold but slightly different character. Can't remember which character that's supposed to be, but yeah, that's about it for the packaging. So let's go ahead and open him up. Looks like some places still use styrofoam. Reminds me of a review I've done recently. And here we have his instruction booklet. Looks like it's actually sealed shut, not taped shut. So we're gonna have to cut this open, just like so. Get that slid out. It's like an actual book, and has him on the front, has his stats on the back, easier to read, and his bio and his quote. So it's probably not as important. And then, of course, a book of instructions. That's pretty much all this is. And yeah, lists of the components are inside, or contents. And then here's an actual character card that's definitely going to go in my collection. Made out of plastic instead of cardstock or cardboard. And here he is. And he has rubber tires, nicely done silvery or metallic painted plastic. He probably has some metal on him. I'm not sure where the metal parts are necessarily. Maybe his feet, if these are his feet. Yeah, it looks like his feet. And his mirrors are rubber, so hopefully that won't be problematic with them shearing off or ripping off. So hopefully that won't be an issue. And it looks like everything's pretty much holding together all right in his vehicle mode. He rolls around pretty well. His tires don't turn, rotate, obviously. I mean, most Transformers don't do that. I think Alternators is the only line that actually did that. And then here is his gun, which looks kind of like I don't know, back of a motorcycle or part of a motorcycle with like the fuel tank. And then yeah, it's a very interesting looking gun. And then here we have his other gun, which is double barreled. Definitely looks cooler and more interesting than the other gun. And then here is his little motorcycle thing, trailer, or whatever that he can pull. As far as I know, he can pull this along in his vehicle mode, and I think it either transforms into a weapon or into just a little motorcycle, moped, whatever, that he pulls along. And I'll take a look in the instructions, see all the stuff for his vehicle mode before actually getting him all transformed into his robot mode. So yeah. Okay, so there's a few little things that you can do in the vehicle mode. Of course, is you can store the little moped thing in the back of the trunk by just sticking your finger up here, pushing the back up, and then just setting it inside here like so, and then just close it back up. And then also you can also pop the doors open. That's also why, you know, they have this bar here, so it looks more like an actual door opening rather than you just transforming it. But it's a little bit easier to pull them both off and then just tab it back in. So as you can see, he actually does have a steering wheel, but since it is European, it is on the right side rather than the left side. And he does have the passenger seats, and it looks pretty cool. Not extremely detailed, but considering what most Transformers have, it's actually really good. And it looks like it's a little bit harder to reach the trunk door or hatchback, but you can use something like a knife to wedge in there to open it up so you can get it back out. And let's go ahead and set this off to the side like this, just so you can get a nice good look at it, like people getting out of the car. And then this, I've found that the only way to really get out is just to wedge something in here. Come on, focus. And then use something else like this again to wedge it out. And then you can kind of rock this forward. I don't really know exactly how it's supposed to be transformed. Even in the instructions, it doesn't really show it with a seat, but it looks kind of like this. I think you're supposed to somehow get that seat up and out, but I still haven't quite figured out how to do that. Let's see. It just shows it transformed like that, but it doesn't really have a seat. It looks like maybe they were trying to do something like that. I'm not exactly sure, to where it'd be like, I don't know, like something like this, where it's kind of like sitting up and then rotates, but then this would also have to go somewhere, so I'm really not sure. But let's go ahead and get this back into its collapsed form. Set that down. And then as far as weapon storage, I'm not sure where this one goes. It didn't really show, at least in the pages I looked at. But it does show, okay, they both can go on the top, maybe. But it shows specifically this weapon plugging in up here, like that. But then it kind of just ruins the look of a normal car. And as far as alt modes go, I mean, most of them, since they're normally packaged in robot mode, most vehicles, normally I look at the robot modes first and show all their articulation, all that, as you know. But he is definitely a more generic type vehicle. Nice colors, but not so flashy, not a sports car. So he's not really going to stand out as much, say, in the normal city, especially like in the 80s or whatever, when Transformers is actually set. So he actually is probably more than, even though not necessarily as well-known characters, he's definitely one of the more, I guess, stealthy characters as far as blending in. So let's go ahead and get him transformed. Alright, and I just noticed something else about the backdrop here. If you take a look over here, you'll see that it has the Privet Drive from Harry Potter, and of course it has the Weasley's car, which looks suspiciously similar to this car, but like maybe from the 50s or 60s, whereas this is from like the 80s. Anyway, just a quick little sidetrack before getting him into his robot mode. Okay, so first thing you want to do is just disconnect his doors, like so. And as you can see, pretty much just starts to move out on his own, but you just kind of just extend everything. Oh boy, looks like this one started to come out before his foot, but you get his feet flipped out, you rotate around, and normally you would have already disconnected his feet, just split those apart like so. And then before you start flipping everything else around, just flip out his filler for his shin. Well, it covers up his shin and all that, makes the shin. And then you want to flip the tire around, get it nice and lined up with the inside of his leg, get his foot all lined up. Then you want to flip this around, and you want to make sure that it lines up and clips in like that. And the problem is it doesn't necessarily always want to stay in place when you start ratcheting it, but there we go, got one leg done. And just to do the other leg, same thing like before. Just flip this out and around, then flip his tire around, get lined up, and then straighten his foot out, flip this down, clip shut, and there his legs are complete. Now for upper body, which is a little less straightforward. Another thing that you can also do just to get it out of the way, and it is, well, it's not as bad as it was the first time, but I was so afraid of snapping those off. It looks like that one's a little worn off, but I mean, that's to be expected, and it's probably for the better because it makes it a little easier to break loose when you need to break it loose. Okay, so you want to pull this out, pull this down so you can get his arms loose. You just kind of wiggle it until you can get it loose and hope that you don't break anything because it is kind of tight in here. But just kind of get his arms out, swung around. And then the tricky part is that you want to make sure, especially when you're transforming back into car mode, is this right here. This locks the arm into place like so. You just, then you close that up, it clicks into place, and if you were to try to excessively pull that back, it would more than likely snap it. And then you just close these panels up on his arms, rotate right here, clip in right here, and then you just pull that up so you can get a little bit more range of motion. And then same on this side, you just get this put in, tabbed in, and then you close up the panels on his arms, get this rotated, make sure it clips in, pull up and out, close that back up, and then you can rotate his arms down, kind of like that, just get them out of the way, and then just, that's another reason why you want to make sure everything's nice and clipped into place. But then you rotate it, and then you can rotate his wrist. And then same with this. Rotate, and then rotate his wrist. And then just want to flip this back. Oh, and another thing also that you also be careful of is you don't want to rip those off, the rubber mirrors. But you kind of have to wriggle. It's kind of hard to get in there, but you want to wriggle it, rotate it around like that, get it in here. Not exactly sure based on the instructions exactly how they're supposed to go, but essentially just get them in the way, get them in here and out of the way of everything else. And then just... The frustrating thing is that the best place to get leverage is right next to the base of the mirror. But I'm afraid if I use that for leverage too much, that it's going to just, one of these days, just rip the mirror off. And since, like I said, it's rubber, I don't know how easily I'd be able to fix that. But anyway, get them in line like this. And then, kind of want to pull this back right here so you can rotate his head around. Like so, and then you just kind of want to get everything lined up so that you can pull it, get everything pushed down, and then you just clip down like that. Let's show it one more time, but you just want to push it down, and then his shoulders are in line with the hood or front of the car. Then you can just pretty much just at this point get everything lined up. Get his hood or roof of the car back. Just put his wing or his doors, however you want to have them positioned for his robot mode. And here we have Savant in his robot mode, or AKA Autobot Skids. And let's go ahead and take a look at his detail. As you can see, he has metallic silver or metallic blue for his head, white for his face, with a light metallic blue for his eyes. He has a nice little smile. And then he has, of course, the grill detail of the car, and red right there on the outside wheel clip, and then red and white stripes along the doors, and then, of course, red, just brightly colored, like lots of blues with white and red accents and a little bit of black here and there. And then, yeah, you pretty much see where most of the car stuff is in robot mode. And let's go ahead and give him his hand him his weapons. He just holds them like this, and this one anyway, it pegs in there to just so that he doesn't drop his weapon. And it doesn't really look exactly like a gun. It looks more like a tool, like maybe like a welding torch, something like along those lines, rather than a actual weapon. And you can probably make him hold this, although you can sort of make him hold it, but it's more meant to clip onto his arm like so. And I guess you could just rotate his hand at the wrist, and it makes it look more like a wrist arm cannon, so it doesn't look as awkward, but it goes on his arm like that. And that's pretty much it for his accessories. So let's just go ahead and take those off. And then articulation wise, his head is on a ball joint, and then the hinge, but that's more for transformation. If you use that, he can look like all the way up, but he can look up about that far. Has a little bit of wiggly waggly. He doesn't really look down. Of course, can do a full 360. Arms can do a full 360. It's like on a ratcheting circle. I'm not exactly sure what kind of joint it is, but it is not a standard ball joint. And then, of course, he can go out about that far. He does not have a double bicep, but he can go over 90 degrees at the elbow. Has bicep rotation, but you do need to be careful because it will pop this loose. But he does have bicep rotation. And of course, he does have wrist rotation, and he also has hands that open up and close up. And then he has hip rotation. And then he does have an ab crunch, but that's more due to transformation. He can kick that far forward, that far back. He can do the full splits. He does have thigh rotation. And he does have about 90 degrees at the bend of the knee, just a little over. And then he has a little bit of ankle tiltage. Oh, well, a lot of ankle tiltage. Let's get that back into place. And then he does have heel, but that's more for like transformation. And that's pretty much it for his articulation. Skids is not a huge major character, but after seeing him reviewed, like the G1 version reviewed by another YouTuber I really like, and then also comparing it with this one, I was like, I really want to get this version of Skids. Like, this character's not a major character, he's more of a side character. He shows up in a couple episodes, but he makes the most sense as a Transformer because he actually can hide in plain sight, other than some of those like really sporty Autobots. So yeah, he's less likely to be found by Decepticons. Well, that's about it. If you like this review and you'd like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. And until next time, have a good one, everyone.